For more on this, let's bring in Dale Barret, managing partner at Barret Tax Law. He joins us now. Thanks for your time, Dale.
Thank you very much.
So we're talking about taxpayers being treated differently depending on who they are, where they are, basically who they get on the line to resolve their problems. How do you possibly manage that if you're the government?
You know, it's a tough thing to reconcile if you're the government. You know, there's differences not only from individual to individual. If you call the CRA twice, you're going to get two different answers every time. There's no consistency between individuals. There's no consistency between their different offices. And it's really something difficult to reconcile. You know, taxpayers have certain rights, and they have rights to the fair and, equal and courteous treatment, and they're not always getting what they should get. And it's going to be very difficult, especially if the CRA is putting all their resources to finding offshore cheats. It's very difficult for them to actually address the problem. And I think one of the big issues as well is there's no accountability. So there's all these rights that people talk about, and there's no actual mechanism or means by which people can actually enforce those rights or protect them.
So, Dale, most of us would assume that if you have a problem, for example, if you're claiming something on your taxes that they don't think you should claim, that should be fairly black and white. Or if you've exceeded a limit, that should be black and white across the board. How does that get more complicated?
Well, the basic things are black and white. But at the end of the day, what gets more complicated is if you get an audit, for example. Two different companies may have the exact same profile, the exact same numbers, the exact same everything, and then they get two very different auditors. And one auditor may be super diligent and super educated and super experienced, and the other one may not be. And the other one may take shortcuts and may apply the net worth methodology and may do things that normally you wouldn't expect them to do. And you're going to get two different outcomes. And one of the taxpayers, in order to uphold their right of paying no more than and no less than required by law, they're going to have to pay a guy like me many thousands of dollars to make sure that happens, while the other person who's got the good auditor isn't going to have to do that. And similarly, if you don't have the money, you can't even uphold your rights. There's no legal aid for tax matters. So if you don't have the funds with which to hire a tax lawyer or hire an accountant or hire an advocate, you're just out of luck, and those rights are just useless to you.
What are the biggest complaints you hear from your client that may have popped up as one of the criticisms from the AG?
Well, I mean, the criticism that I hear from people in general is that things take too long, and that amount of time that's considered to be too long differs from place to place. So, one place people may start complaining after 6 months, where in another zone, 6 months may be fantastic if we can get something done within that period of time. Similarly, we're finding differences in terms of taxpayer relief. So the whole taxpayer relief regime is supposed to provide assistance and relief to taxpayers if they fall into certain circumstances and into certain criteria. So, for example, if you're on your way to file your tax returns and you're hit by a bus and you go into a coma and you wake up 5 years later and file everything late, in certain areas you may get complete relief for all that period of time and not have to pay any interest and penalties. In other areas, the taxpayer relief application may be denied altogether. So there isn't even consistency in terms of the approach taken to reviewing a case.
Got it. All right, Dale Barret, sir, I got to leave the conversation there. We're out of time, but thanks for joining us today. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.